Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breathe Motivation. My name's Anthony Hester. I'm your host for this show. So glad to join you guys this week. Hope you guys are having a great week and accomplishing everything that you guys set out to do this week, or, whatever, however that looks. If you're having a hard time or a tough time, just know it's going to get better. And hopefully this episode maybe can help you find a little ray of sunshine. So that's why I'm here, is help you guys find purpose and passion in everything you do, right? So I wanted to, talk about this. This is an interesting, I like to read random articles on different websites. I don't really remember where I saw this one, but I think it was Yahoo. And it was about R&D. So I'm sure some of you guys have heard that term, and if you haven't, I'll explain it. So R&D is research and development, and it's really used as a kind of a business term. And I thought it was really interesting, when I was reading this, it was really about the amount of money that these big companies have, spent on research and development and how to get better within their business, and the amount of money that people, these companies invest in this. I was really kind of shocked on how much they spend, and in a good way, and I thought, I was like, how can this, research and development, I think this is great. And it made me kind of research more into research and development. I've done a little bit in college and all of that good stuff, but I kind of wanted to dig a little bit deeper and say, how can research and development help us on a personal standard, right? Instead of looking at it as just a business standard. So I kind of want to break that down. There's 4 steps of business R&D, research and development, but I want to break those down into kind of how we can do that personally. So I'll get into that, but it was amazing to see, the top 3 companies that I found in 2018 that spent the most money was Amazon, who spent $22 billion on research and development. Crazy, right? They're a huge company, right? It's the closest thing that, like, when I think of Amazon, it's like, man, that's almost a monopoly, right? But they spent $22 billion on research and development. Next was Alphabet, which is actually Google, $16.2 billion. And then it was also Volkswagen and Samsung. They're really close. It was $15.3 million, or billion, not million, $1 billion in research and development. And these are huge companies, right? Everybody knows Amazon, Google, and Samsung, right? Even Volkswagen, Volkswagen Beetle, all those good things. Those people love their cars, their Beetles, those vans. Those are pretty cool, right? So you guys know these companies. And I thought it was crazy to see the amount of money that these companies use for research and development. I was like, wow, this is crazy. These are the biggest companies, but they're always looking to get better. And that's one of those things when I look at it is, with this show, our goal is to, kind of really help each other get better. And I took a look at this and I was like, let me do a little bit more research into R&D, because I was like, man, this is interesting. So I'm going to give you the 4 steps. It's the research and development cycle that I found for business. And I'm going to kind of just translate it into personal development and how I saw it. And hopefully that can help us get better, because I thought it was really interesting that we can invest they can invest that kind of money into these companies that are already so huge. We can, stand to invest a little bit of money, time, and effort into ourselves, right? So let's start with those 4 steps. The first step was synthesize and theorize. The second step was explore, hypothesize, and clarify. The third step was design, develop, and test. And the 4th step was implement, study efficacy, and improve. So that's the 4 steps of R&D, the R&D cycle, right? So all these companies are investing billions of dollars to get better over time, right? And that's just in 2018. So these companies actually were spending a lot, billions of dollars a year to get better. And these are the biggest companies in the world, right? So it's interesting in how that is. So let me break that down and how I kind of saw it. So synthesize, I can't even talk, and theorize, right? So the way that they see it, and I see it kind of the same way, is it's really, what are the issues and needs? For them, it's more of consumers. What are some issues and needs of the consumers? Because that's why they would create the product, right? How can we help make lives better? It's the same thing for us, right? What are the issues and needs that we have in our lives, and how can we make our lives better? So I really look at it as the what. So what are the things in my life that I want to accomplish and what I want to develop to get better? That's important, right? If you don't have that what, right? If you don't have a what, then how do you go after something that you don't know that you're going after? So I think it's very important for us to find the what of our lives, and how can we do that? And what can we do to get there, right? Next was the explore, hypothesize, and clarify. And I think this is a very important step. This really creates, for me, this is the why, right? Why do we want to accomplish what we need, or what issues we have? Why is it that we want to do this? That's where you're really going to explore. So you're going to explore the idea of, what Like, why do I need this what, right? And it sounds weird because there's so many W's in that, but you start to really think about that. You start to hypothesize. You start to think of, how is this going to make my life better? How, what is it going to be? So this is how I look at it with the why and determining that why. What is it, and why do I want this? Why do I want to, get better in my career, right? So ask yourself that. Why do I want to get better? Because I want to spend more time with my family. It's going to give me more free time to be able to spend more time with my family. Maybe go on more vacations or have a little bit more free time instead of spending all my time in the office. Why? Just the why. The why is so important because that creates your commitment and helps you to prioritize what really is important to you, because that's where most goals kind of flounder is in that stage, the why. If you don't have a why behind what you're doing, you're not going to attack it like you would, because it's not important, right? So you've got to be able to find the why, because that's going to lead to more commitment, right? Your commitment to, absolutely accomplish this goal. So you're going to prioritize these things. You're going to prioritize this as a very important deal, right? And I'll get into priorities. I think, I brought that up last time, and maybe next episode will be more, how do you prioritize? Because I think that's important. I think somebody actually asked me about that, and, I kind of shared that with them. But how can we set priorities? What are the priorities, and how do we get better? Because the priorities, that's how you are going to accomplish things, because those priorities are going to set that frame for what you're going to do, right? It's going to prioritize your success. Your success is priorities, right? So if you prioritize that this goal is so important to you, and you're going to really go after that versus, spending hours of watching TV. I think I talked about that last week, right? Priorities are going to keep me focused on the goal versus prioritizing, hey, I think it's more important for me to watch 3 or 4 hours or binge watch TV, right? So I want to be able to accomplish this, and this is why. So having that why, writing that down on a piece of paper, a sticky note, and putting that on, your mirror, the first thing you see every day, or even on your, in my car, sometimes I'll put sticky notes on the, instead of looking at the Toyota emblem, I'm going to look at my goal and what I want to accomplish, or I'll carry a card that has what I want to accomplish and why do I want to do it. It keeps me focused. It keeps my priorities straight, because you can easily get lost and off onto a different path if you don't have the priorities. You've got to be able to prioritize the most important to the least important, and know that, hey, writing these things down and having a planner or some kind of notebook to be able to go and look back. That's why I carry that card. I go back and look at the priorities that I've set, so that I don't get deterred and lose that focus, right? And on the other side, why am I doing this? Because if I know that why, and I can see that, right, and feel it, you're going to accomplish more. So next is design, develop, and test. So that's the how, right? So that's like a really important thing that I think is this is where you're going to, kind of design your plan, develop your plan. And really, that's where you're going to do more research. If there's a certain area in your life that you need to get better in, that's where you're going to start reading articles or blogs to help yourself get better. Start to look for books in the field of what you want to accomplish. There are tons of people out there that are doing the things that you want to do. Go research and find as much information as you can to develop a better plan for yourself, because other people have done it. Design the way that you want things to happen in life, and start to test those. How am I going to do this, right? So you've got your what, your why, and how. So how can I go out and do this, and how can I accomplish this? This is where you're going to, when you go to test these things, right? You start to test, as you start to do the research and you start to read and do whatever, watch videos, however you do it, right? Whatever's most comfortable for you, you start to take those little things and you start to test it, right? This is kind of be, and I don't always like this statement, but kind of the fake it till you make it. You start to do things that you want to do and how you want to do it to accomplish it. That's where you start to test these different things in life. You start to do these things. You start to see how it feels and how you're going to accomplish, and is it really realistic for you to do it, and how you're doing it. So you're going to design, develop, and test. And as you start to test these things, maybe this doesn't work out the best way you can. So then you, again, go back and you start to look at it and say, hey, does this make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, then I got to try something different. So that's the test thing, right? You're always going to test what you want to do and accomplish, because at that point you could always go back, right? It's a cycle. So how can I get this done? Why do I want to get it done? And what is it that I want to accomplish, right? Next is implement, study, and improve. right? So you've already, as you start to test and design and develop this program, you start to do it yourself, right? This is the get out and do it. And this is the hardest part for most people, right? So as you get out and do it, you could tell yourself, I want to do this, I want to do this and this, and you start to do it, or you just keep, a lot of people actually just don't get out and do it, right? I think it's important for us to get out and do it and, get over that fear, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I think it's an important part of it. You start to implement those things that you were testing and say, hey, this is working, this is great, I'm going to continue this. You're going to study those habits and say, hey, is this going to make the most sense? And am I going to be able to continue to carry this along the way? And how can I make this process better? Is there a way to make some shortcuts so that I'm not wasting as much time? And as you start to implement these things, you're going to see that, hey, I can cut this out of this program that I created, and it's going to give me a little bit more time to, do some of my other priorities or my other prior commitments. So you just have to get out and do it. Implementing is the most important piece of all of these things. So if there was anything that you should go out and do, it's the fourth step of the cycle. And the great thing is sometimes as you go through this process, you start to kind of see, hey, this doesn't make sense, or maybe this didn't really clarify back to what I was doing, right? So it's research and development, really researching the things that you want to accomplish and developing a plan to move forward. And if it doesn't work, guess what? You can start back over and start that over. Start back over. How many times can I tell you that, right? So it's the same thing in life. When I look at, it was interesting to see the research and development piece of this as I started to do more research on the cycle. I could relate it back to some of the things that I've done in life. With one of the businesses I started, I kind of thought about it. Here's some issues and needs that can, for consumers that I think can accomplish. That's what we want to do. I want to accomplish helping these consumers with this. Why? And this was an important piece. And now that I look back at it, my why wasn't as important as I thought it would be. I started to design, develop, and test websites, and how can I get clients and all that stuff. And that didn't come as easy because my why wasn't as driven. So I wasn't as driven. And then I got out and did it. I tried to talk to as many customers as I could. I was throwing out cards out there and doing all these things. But as I started to do that, guess what? It didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I wasn't really feeling that business that I was doing. So guess what? I had to kind of reset and say, hey, you know what? This wasn't the right thing. Let me go back and, kind of realign myself with what I think I can accomplish and what I want to accomplish. So it's self-development is forever a cycle. You're always going to go through these cycles. You're going to get better. You're going to learn about things. Self-development is learning things about yourself and, creating the best self that you can be. You're always developing yourself. And that's going to take a lot of research. That's going to take some time. And just know that each step of the way, you're going to get better. A lot of the things that you make mistakes on are great mistakes to make, because at the end of the day, you find out what you don't like, right? So you can kind of throw that out and say, hey, I gave it a try. I don't like it. Now I can move on to the next thing, right? You create better, commitments and priorities. You set your priorities to where you really want to accomplish those things. So that's kind of how I break down research and development into kind of a personal level. I'd love to hear what you guys think. So you guys can reach out to me on social media. You guys can reach out to me, anywhere. So let me leave with the quote, of course. Research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. And that's Zora Neale Hurston. So go out there, do your own R&D, invest in yourself, right? Invest your time in yourself, because that's how you're going to get better. That's how your family gets better. That's how your career gets better. That's how you find success. And I think that's one of the most important things you can do. Just get out and do it, and do all these steps. You can take these steps however you want, and utilize that, right? Utilize information, start to read books, do all those great things to help yourself get better, because at the end of the day, you're the only person that can invest in you full-heartedly, because you're the one who knows what you want, right? So follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Breathe Motivate. Like my page on Facebook, Breathe Motivation. Check out the website, breathemotivation.com, and you can reach out to me at Anthony Hester at breathemotivation.com as well. So as always, remember to breathe motivation and exhale success, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.